There is a mystery known to few, that of the disappearance of Andrew Broderick Wilson, a boy from a suburban town in Northern California who once had a fondness for musical theater. Anyone on the outside would have simply assumed that Andrew went on to pursue his path to the big stage. But after a move to Los Angeles, California in 2016, a terrifying chain of events followed, which led up to his eventual disappearance after the Christmas of 2017, at the turn of the year. A budding career under the spotlight suddenly went dark, leaving friends and family at a loss for the enigma he had become. What happened to this bright, talented boy? The shocking revelations that we now know to the depths of this mystery are bone-chilling. This is Found Andrew. Back in the beginning of 2018, Andrew B. Wilson was suddenly a name of the past. His cousins and closest friends knew not where he lived, or how he made a living. After being groomed for the public eye, an abrupt and alarming disappearance baffled all who knew him. His father ceasing all posting of his beloved son, an aunt forgetting an entire existence of a nephew who was once a protege, and a mother who heard her son's name and was struck with fear, beyond alarmed by the mention of her youngest born. With theories surrounding tragic accidents, an ever-losing war to the dark side, criminals, mobsters, monsters, and predators, the truth is beyond what we could have ever feared as fact, not fiction. In the spring of 2016, rumors started whirling around Andrew's hometown of religious cult brainwashing. Later that year, Andrew made the move to Los Angeles, supposedly to follow his dreams of becoming an actor. But what no one looked at the time, was that Los Angeles was the headquarters for an entirely different corporation. 2018 struck, and suddenly the talk of the town was that Andrew had made another move, this time to Florida. And that same corporation that had headquarters in Los Angeles was in fact birthed in no other but Florida. Once hearing of Andrew's move to Florida, it simply became the assumption that Andrew was hitting it big in Walt Disney World. But when the investigative team attempted phone calls with both Andrew's mother and aunt, they came up with only more confusion and questions. If Andrew was simply living at large in the Disney World at Florida, why would he not drive a vehicle? Why would it be impressive to be applying for a job as a customer service agent at Capital One? And why did it seem as if Debbie, Andrew's aunt, had been taken in for memory alterations by some secret organization to replace the truth of Andrew's past? Nothing seemed to add up, including the fact that on all the background reports collected for Andrew, no residential addresses were shown in Florida or Los Angeles. Perhaps looking back to the strongest bond in Andrew's life would illuminate the answers his loved ones so sought for. After a stroke in 2018, Andrew's father, Rick, made an immaculate recovery, living life larger and grander than he ever dared to before. Yet one thing was missing from his life, that of his son, Andrew. It was shocking to anyone who knew the family that such a rift had been created between Andrew and Rick. After all, it was as if these two were made for each other. our investigative team took it upon themselves to dive back into the murky, leech-infested waters of this mystery. Looking back at the logs and reports, the decision was made to brave a call to no other but Rick Wilson. Collecting the telephone number for Rick once more, the investigation team prayed that they would not reach Erica, Rick's wife, as they had previously, and this time, get to speak to the man whose name was on the phone bill at last, and not have it be intercepted by the clutches of the woman who lurked in the background. The call was made.
Hello.
Hi, my name is Deborah Preed, and, I'm oh my god, it's a calling card. It's a calling card.
A member on the investigative team was immediately thrown. She believed it was Erica answering once more and was defeated.
Just
I
call
mean, at
back.
least it probably sounds like you got disconnected. Like, I doubt she thinks that you were laughing, but...
That was Rick.
Yeah, that was him. That was him. That's what I could do. It was a man. Oh,
Wait, we're calling back?
No, that's too much for a calling card. Maybe like an hour from now, then it would.
But it would be more realistic if we got disconnected.
Yeah, like if we called back now.
But the other members of the team knew this must be a man, Rick, despite the pitch of the voice that was heard. After being disconnected from the call, the team attempted to reconnect.
Hello, this is Rick.
Hi there. I had some bad reception. I'm sorry I got disconnected. This is Deborah Preed. I'm calling from Jack's Ice Cream Shack.
Okay. What is Jack's Ice Cream Shack?
Well, we're going to be opening a new location in El Dorado County. We were originally based in Florida and we're new to the area.
Okay.
The team made sure to drop in that their headquarters were based in no other but Florida.
Would you be interested?
You know, I think I would not, and the reason is I don't eat any kind of dairy product.
Oh no. Oh really? Does anyone in your household?
No, we're all vegan.
Oh wow. Well, that's great. I know so many people that are vegan, so I definitely understand. Well,
I wish you the best of success with the new opening.
thank you. Yes, thank you so much. And if you have any friends or family members who aren't vegan or don't have those dietary needs, then please recommend us. We will be opening in June.
Where will the location be?
We're going to be down in Folsom on Bidwell.
Okay. What part of Bidwell? Is this going to be in Palladio, or is this going to be in one of the other areas?
Rick went on, asking questions about such minute details. It was slowly becoming clear that this man just wanted to talk to someone. And once it was known that Rick was open to spilling some juice, the team dived in to fish around.
Gotcha. Okay. So down at that whole end. Well, that's good to know.
Yes, well,
That's a successful.
Sorry, are you still there?
Yeah. I just
Oh,
said
I'm
that's a
sorry.
successful.
Oh, thank you so much.
No worries.
Do you know anyone of the ages 18 through 25 who'd be willing to work? We're going to have a one-day job. It'll be about 6 hours in June for our opening, and it will benefit the local charity that we're going to decide upon.
Okay.
June.
Well, I can think of a charity you might want to check out. They could also be a great source for employees.
Oh.
And that's El Dorado Musical Theater. And they have a number of, very hardworking kids who are involved there. And so they would be some good people to kind of do a posting with to talk about your job fair.
What was strange was the fact that Rick was calling EDMT a charity when it was not a non-profit. In fact, Rick himself had been gaining off of EDMT for years.
Okay, perfect. You know, we were actually looking for a performer for our opening an event. Do you think that we could get someone from there that might be interested in that?
Well, it depends on what you're looking at. I mean, as a performing group, they end up doing, large musicals, those sorts of things.
Oh, wow.
So they do have a performing group called High Voltage. Are you familiar with the Harris Center?
I am. That's right across the street from us.
Yeah, just down the road a little bit.
Exactly.
So EDMT is the biggest user of the Harris Center, at least when it's open.
Really? Oh,
And
wow.
They do a number of major performances there every year. Generally about 3 major productions. And so it would be a good one worth checking out.
Wow, okay. Wow, that's great. Do you have any kids in EDMT, right? That's what it's called?
Not right now, but I did have a son who went through the program and thought it was quite great. I also happen to know a number of the kids who are still performing there and are still involved, including, for example, the choreographer for their tour group. The tour group is called High Voltage. If you wanted to check them out, you could go and check out, I know they've got a YouTube channel, but they recently did a show that was all done, with people recording elements of the show from home.
Oh,
so
wow.
You can check. They also have a Facebook page, and there's more information on there. And of course, because there's lots of young people, they're all over Instagram. I believe that Instagram account is EDMT _, I believe.
Okay.
So I would assume there'd be a good group to be aligned with, because it is very common that after rehearsal and such, the usual thing is the kids will go and find a place. Hey, let's all go out and get frozen yogurt or ice cream or something like that. So it would be a good group to align with, because it could also become a really good source for customers as well as employees.
I see. Yeah, that would be great. Well, thank you very much. You said your child used to be involved there. Would they be interested in possibly performing, or do they not do that professionally?
Well, he's actually living in Florida right now. So what you might want to do.
Confirmation. Andrew was in Florida.
What you might want to do is check out the website. The person who's the executive producer and runs the place is named Danielle Levy, and her email address is Danielle, DANIELLELEVY, at edmt.info.
Okay.
When the call seemed to have no end, the team attempted to cut it off.
Thank you again for all that information, and have a great night.
Yeah, you have a lovely night too. I wish you all the success in the world with it.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. Bye.
Okay.
Have a good night.
So,
oh, yes. What was that?
take care. Bye-bye.
Oh, yes. Bye.
I was just going to say take care. Bye-bye.
Oh, thank you. You too. Bye.
The team had received an answer. It seemed Andrew truly was in Florida, and not some shut-in or cripple living in his family attic. And yet, it didn't feel conclusive or nearly enough. So the team called back.
Hello, this is Rick.
Hi, this is Deborah Preet again. I talked to you just a few minutes ago from Jack's Ice Cream.
Yes, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well.
It was clear he was beaming that this woman by the name of Deborah Preet had called him back. It was as if he had a friend now. All the thoughts swirling in his mind of weekly chats going in and visiting Deborah at her ice cream shack. Maybe this was the upswing in his life he had been waiting for.
What can I do for you?
I was talking to my partner about EDMT, and they were very excited. And I was emailing Daniel Levy, and I think I might have the wrong email address because it said it failed to send. So I just wanted to check the address with you.
Okay. It should be
yeah.
DanielLevy@edmt.info.
Okay, I had an E at Levey, so that was my problem there. Perfect. Thank you so much. Okay.
The
Well-
other thing that you can do is probably, if you need any other help on addresses or those sorts of things, I believe the website has staff links on them.
Oh, it does? Oh, okay, that's perfect. Okay, then I'll look there
Very good.
for all that. Thank you. Thanks.
Hopefully your email will go through.
Exactly, yes, I hope so. Thank you. Thank you for all the information. It's been incredibly helpful.
I'm glad I can help you out.
Yeah, and you said your son is down in Florida? That's nice. As I mentioned earlier, our headquarters were down in Florida, in the Naples area.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, what part is
Yeah.
your son living?
He's living in Clearwater.
The team held their breath.
Oh, wow, very nice. Did he move down there for work or school?
He works there. He is on staff with the Church of Scientology.
Shock. Complete and utter shock.
So that's what, kind of everything is based in Clearwater.
Oh, wow, that's fantastic.
Oh, nice.
Well, I hope you have a nice night.
The team had to get off the call. The revelation was too shocking. And the previous member of the team that had been spearheading the conversation with Rick had to step out, leaving the conversation hanging with a new member of the team. It seemed seamlessly switching voices to Rick.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much.
I take it you guys are.
Oh, go
I take
ahead.
it you guys are the franchise owners.
Yes, that's correct.
Rick would go on for another 4 minutes, chatting away with his newfound phone friend. The original team member able to come back into the call here and there, switching off talking with the second member of the team, all seeming unbeknownst to Rick.
Well, best of luck. It's quite an adventure. Believe it or not, I'm quite optimistic for you. I know times are kind of crazy right now, but what's interesting is that in times of adversity, you're going to find that people are looking for nice little affordable, luxuries that they can do. And things like going out for ice cream kind of fits that equation pretty nicely. It's not like going on a 2-week Hawaiian cruise or something, but I think you're going to find that you can do quite well. And hopefully, like I said, when are you planning on actually opening up?
June 4th.
Well, hopefully the things are loosening up right now as far as requirements and so on. So hopefully Sacramento County will be wide open by then.
That's what we're hoping, yeah.
Absolutely. Plus, people are getting a little stir crazy, so just a chance to get out of the house, go out and have an ice cream would be a nice little treat.
Exactly. No, it's so true, I know it's unfortunate with being gluten and everything like free, but we definitely understand. And dairy free.
Well, not a problem. Not a problem at all. Like I said, it's one of those ones that most of my life I always enjoyed ice cream, so I definitely enjoyed the attraction. Yeah, it was one of those things that I needed to, for health reasons, change how I was eating. I was had to deal with like diabetes and hypertension and everything.
Absolutely.
So the change to a whole foods plant-based diet made a huge difference, and it's gotten both of those conditions under control. So it was a good thing, but I had to give up my cheeseburgers as well.
Well, we'll work on getting a dairy-free ice cream for you, and maybe you could make it over one day. But I am gonna call it a night tonight. So thank you again for all the info, and I'll be in touch with El Dorado Hills Musical Theater.
Yeah, it's just El Dorado Musical Theater.
El Dorado
They're in
Musical
El Dorado
Theater.
Hills.
Okay.
They're in El Dorado Hills, but the name is just El Dorado Musical Theater.
I see. Okay, so they're right up in El Dorado Hills then.
Exactly. One exit up the freeway.
Okay, that's perfect. Well, thank you so much for all the information, and I hope your son continues having a good time.
Well, thank you so much. Have a lovely rest of the evening.
The team unfortunately were not able to finish out the call and say goodbye, all members suppressing their laughter while they left the call hanging, eventually opting to simply hang up.
Knowing the truth will set us free and take us from clear to eternity, to a future we thought would never be. We stand tall. Hey, lolly, la. Hey, lolly, we stand tall. Oh, yes. Everybody, hey, lolly, la. Hey, lolly, we stand tall.
Hello and welcome. You've probably heard of Scientology. In fact, every 6 seconds, someone searches the question, what is Scientology? There's a lot of talk about us, and we get it. People are curious. Well, we want to answer your questions, because frankly, whatever you have heard, if you haven't heard it from us, I can assure you, we are not what you expect.
Scientology. What really is it? Well, in the words of reigning godlike figure, David Miscavige, whatever you've heard about Scientology, if you haven't heard it from us, it's probably nothing like you expect. It is far, far worse. Scientology was founded in December of 1953 by the self-titled prophetic genius L. Ron Hubbard. It began as a collection of philosophical ideas on mental health compiled in the book Dianetics.
Dianetics, the modern science of mental health, is considered to be the fundamental text which is the foundation upon which all else is built.
The book took the world by storm, luring in unsuspecting hopefuls with progressive views on the mind-body-spirit connection. The principles were sound, the concepts helpful, and the ideas intriguing enough to amass a devout following that began with rich, white people in the 1950s. This trend continued, as today, over 98% of Scientologists are white people who either are rich or dream of one day achieving their own star-studded dreams. The dreams Scientology promises. After one maxes out their credit cards purchasing coursework and auditing sessions in an attempt to go clear or reach OT level 8, that is. Perhaps Scientology had more spiritual merit in the days with L. Ron Hubbard at the helm, though even that generous assumption is not likely. However, once L. Ron Hubbard discarded his body and Wharf David Miscavige clawed his way ruthlessly to claim the throne at the pinnacle of Scientology fame, things became much, much worse. In 1986, when L. Ron Hubbard transfigured himself into a fully operating thetan, as the Scientology community affirms, there were several in line to take his position as head of the self-proclaimed church. None of which were Mr. Miscavige. This, however, did not stop his ruthless pursuit of power, as he blackmailed, outmaneuvered and killed those who stood in his way. As several high-ranking members abruptly retired, disappeared or were sent to spiritual rehabilitation centers that David had started, known as The Hole. When exploring the dark, rotting underbelly of Scientology, one discovers maggots gnawing at the decaying flesh of the innocents who unsuspectingly fall into their traps, and whose blind submission and pliable minds serve as the fuel that keeps this ship running. Poor folk, like Andrew, who bite into the sickly sweet, cotton candy surface of shiny things, sparkling promises of fame and supernatural abilities, even a shield of protection by operating within their own code of ethics as they refuse to follow the laws governed by the United States, and instead adopt their own rules, such as the ability to fair game someone or attack an enemy by any means necessary.
He's saying we never defend, we always attack, and they have followed it ever since. They call it fair game, and anybody who criticizes Scientology is fair game.
Whatever you're told, whatever needs to be done, if it's against the law, it doesn't matter.
All done under the cheery guise of holiness, of course. Scientology on the surface is brimming with success, with over 11,000 church buildings worldwide and claiming to welcome in 4 million new members globally each year. They claim to be the leading force on ending addiction, fostering peace between nations, rebuilding communities after disasters, and their biggest boast of all, saving the entire world from the suppressive people. None of their audacious claims are in fact true, and have been fervently debunked and fact-checked, only to find David has completely misled his loyal followers for the purpose of scamming more and more money from them. Scientologists are always seen wearing a rather unsettling grin, using excessive eye contact, and would be regarded as unusually happy people.
They're oftentimes good-hearted people, idealistic, but full of a kind of crushing certainty that eliminates doubt.
There was a social aspect to it too. You got to hang out with people. There's some interesting people, nice people. These are all people who are looking to improve their life.
When in conversation with one, they would likely probe about your failures, looking for weak spots in your psyche, places of hurt or regret, where they can lunge in aggressively, offering hope through Scientology, and only Scientology.
One of the theories of Dianetics is to discover these things that are very traumatic or have been very upsetting to you, and if you can observe exactly what happened, the power of that incident to influence you today is removed.
Once you've taken away all these traumatic memories from this life and previous ones, then you are clear.
Though of course, on the surface, they claim to be accepting of all people and religions. Yet another twisted aspect of the facade they craft to lure in as many consumers as possible to keep their conservatively estimated $200 million a year revenue stream healthy. The church is currently estimated at a value of at least $1.75 billion, with $1.5 billion of that invested in real estate. Those 11,000 church buildings we find are just that. Buildings. Empty. Devoid of life. devoid of anything but products to sell and salesmen to convert, and aggressively bully passerbys to join. If you choose not to, you will be looked down upon. But if you say anything negative about the church, or speak out against them in any way, you will be deemed a suppressive person and not allowed on church property ever again. Suppressive people have been flooded with negative thetans, invisible spiritual beings that cling on to a person and twist their thoughts to ones of greed, selfishness, cruelty and fear. Suppressive people are the cause of every bad thing that happens in this world. The ultimate goal is for Scientology to alienate, expose and destroy those people by any means necessary, for the sake of the planet and Scientologists' radiant golden future promised by L. Ron. There are several different ways to join the church. One can simply become a member through purchasing a membership, coursework, books, audio programs, and auditing sessions, all necessary in the pursuit of going clear, the ultimate goal in the game of life. However, for those more dedicated and more hungry for power, money, glory and praise in David Miscavige's eyes, you may choose to work for Scientology. One can choose to serve the church by working for far less than minimum wage at any Scientology church or any of their opulent celebrity centers. Or you can answer the greatest and most pure call that a Scientologist could ever hear, whispered to them by the Thetan of L. Ron Hubbard, and join the Sea Organization. Joining the Sea Org is no small feat. First, to prove your servitude, one must sell their soul quite literally, signing a legitimate billion-year contract.
Sea Org is the most fraternal order of the organization. It's people who really believe in the cause and sign a billion-year contract. You thought you were doing something good to have a positive effect on all of mankind. That's what Hubbard says. Everything you do for endless trillions of years depends on what you do here and now with and in Scientology.
In this contract, it also states the rate of pay. Given the amount of laborious study and work required of Sea Org members, you might imagine that $20 an hour would be on the low end. Sea Org staff work 8 hours a day doing some sort of physical labor, such as painting, cleaning, construction or electrical work, most of which they are not trained in or aware how to conduct safely and properly, along with 6 hours of rigorous study and auditing sessions, all of which is 6 days a week, every week, with no holidays. This sad truth is not, I'm afraid, an exaggeration. When you join the Sea Org, there are several places within the top tier of Scientology headquarters to be placed, whether at their base in Hemet, California, home to the wretched Hole of Punishment, or the city Scientology nearly completely owns now, Clearwater, Florida. In Florida, the largest base is called Flag, as it is their flagship building in Clearwater. L. Ron Hubbard was obsessed with his Navy days and as such, gave everyone military titles and full naval officer uniforms to complete his sick little bubble of a personal reality that became Clearwater, Florida. The streets are filled with buildings reminiscent of Main Street in Disneyland, appearing as nothing but a glossy front for offices not worked in and churches unused. This creepy, quiet little town on the sunny shores of Florida is the Sea Org members' primary home base. By joining, they are given a room, food and their rate of pay. This beautiful life is payment enough in David Miscavige's eyes, and as they are serving the church, money should not be of consequence. As such, for the 48 hours of physical labor work conducted 6 days a week by Sea Org staff, along with the 36 hours of mandatory study and auditing, which is a sparkly term for interrogation and brainwashing therapy, the church feels they pay rather handsomely, offering their members an allowance of $50 a week on average. Higher-ranking members may be gifted as much as $75 a week. However, the average Sea Org staff member, such as Andrew B. Wilson, is earning a little over $1 an hour for his brutal manual labor work. As for his 36 hours of studying, that is not paid and considered his contribution to his soul and to Scientology. The benefit perceived by many in joining the Sea Org is the waived fees for coursework and auditing. It is all given freely in exchange for the billion-year contract against your immortal soul. Though if Andrew or any member should choose to break the contract and leave the Sea Org, let alone the Church of Scientology altogether, they will be hit with a legally binding freeloader's debt. This bill can range upwards of $40,000, capping around $300,000 depending on the amount of time you lived for free off the church and how many courses you took without paying for them. One would think the stiff price to pay would deter hopefuls from joining and signing away their future, but for those eager for praise and glory, like Andrew B. Wilson, it does no such thing. One of the benefits Andrew likely saw in joining the Sea Org and making the move to live at Flag in Clearwater, Florida, was the proximity to both David Miscavige and prominent celebrity Scientologists such as Tom Cruise. In 2018, ironically the same year Andrew joined the Sea Org, Tom Cruise made his residency in Clearwater permanent, purchasing a multi-million-dollar penthouse right on the Scientology main strip, a moment's luxurious car ride away from the Flag building and other important sites for an active Scientologist. Scientology frequently flaunts their celebrity involvement, boasting about the road to success in any field one can acquire through the advanced skills you learn as a Scientologist.
So they purchased the Celebrity Center. The idea was to draw in these famous entertainers and use them as pitchmen for the religion.
In an industry like Hollywood, where stardom is such an elusive quality, Scientology would offer a route to maybe feel a little bit more secure. And when you're trying to break in, you're also dealing with relentless rejection and something that helps you stay focused and feel that you're improving yourself and becoming more clear. You can see the appeal of that.
My name is Andrew B. Wilson. I'm 20 years old and currently live in Sacramento, California, but am in the process of moving to Los Angeles. It's a massive goal. It's a scary goal. And it's definitely going to put my butt on the line. And oh my God, it's such a scary place. Ooh.
Glorified and placed upon a godlike platform, than Hollywood and acting, which makes the move again no surprise for a fame-hungry but talentless boy like Andrew. Could Andrew have seen Tom's move as a once-in-a-lifetime chance to dazzle the actor with his own charisma while serving him tea and crumpets in an opulent Scientology restaurant in Clearwater? Or perhaps he makes attempts to strike up conversations with John Travolta on his visits to the Fort Harrison luxury Scientologist-only resort in Clearwater. Or even more darkly, maybe he has set his eyes on the platinum throne of Scientology itself, hoping to worm his way to the top as David did. And when Mr. Miscavige finally discards his own body, Andrew would step up into David's tiny little shoes as the spokesperson and eternally smiling face of Scientology. Whichever path he has chosen in his heart to take will become clear to us all in time, but the possibilities are nearly all disheartening. What Andrew clearly did not investigate before making this life-altering decision, or did not care about if he did know, was the strict punishment that befalls many a Sea Org member for acting out in the slightest of ways. When David thinks that a Scientologist or Sea Org member needs to be set straight or that they are hiding something in their auditing sessions, a full-blown brutal interrogation will occur.
The e-meter is a very powerful instrument. It's 1/3 of a lie detector. A lie detector would also measure your respiration and pulse. It's 2 cans, and there's electrical wires carrying an indetectable amount of current into a meter with a needle on it. According to Church of Scientology, it actually detects the mass of your thoughts, although there's no evidence that thoughts have mass.
They will interrogate any of his friends at Flag, inquiring about anything he could be hiding or any crimes he may have committed, such as contacting his family when he's not supposed to, questioning any of Scientology ideology, or having sex with a girl before marriage, let alone if he was to have intercourse with a man. Homosexuality is seen as severe misalignment with how one should be on their way to becoming clear, and once one does go clear, they would of course no longer be homosexual. If he ever confessed in an auditing session to ever having thoughts, desires or dreams of being with another man, he would be sent to the hole. The hole is a set of double-wide trailers on the remote base in Hemet, California. According to Sea Org members who have survived the hole and escaped, it is complete with bars on the windows, roaches and rats on the ground, torture sessions aimed to correct the thinking of the detainees, and 24/7 security to ensure that no one leaves unless permitted by David Miscavige himself. Some Sea Org members have been sent to the hole for months or years on end, before finally playing the part correctly enough to be allowed to return to their position as normal, or those who cleverly escaped after months of tracking guards' schedules and awaiting the opportune moment where circumstances aligned in their favor. It is categorically deemed a highly abusive and traumatic experience by every Sea Org member who has survived and been bold enough to tell the tale, sharing their stories despite the Church's vile threats.
The doors had bars put on them, the windows all had bars put on them, and there was one entrance door that a security guard sat at 24 hours a day.
Had to stay there, sleep there. It stunk, and there were ants crawling around. You sleep about an hour, 2 hours a night. You were in such a mental state that you're very controllable, very suggestible. We were told we needed to come up with what each other's crimes were against Miscavige and Hubbard so that we could eventually get out of the hole.
Scientology is really good at making you think that you're a scoundrel.
Confess your crimes, confess your crimes. What have you done?
Fights would break out. Miscavige would get me all riled up, and I remember one time Mike had done something or not done something, I don't remember, and I was supposed to go beat him up.
One executive was made to mop up the bathroom floor with his tongue. Another was put into a bucket and pummeled by some of the women and called a lesbian.
There was a very powerful air conditioner which blew straight down, and it was set on maximum cold, and a guy was made to sit in a chair and had water poured on his head until he literally turned blue.
Miscavige slapped me across the face, knocked me on the ground, kicked me a couple times.
Flailing fists, kneeing him in the stomach, getting him on the floor.
And you think you want to get up and retaliate. But you also think, I got 75 other people who are all likely to tackle me if I did. And then you get the sheer shock of it. Here's the equivalent of the Pope suddenly knocking you on the ground, and you're thinking, I must have really screwed up.
It was a poisonous environment. People were really frightened. And this went on for years. This isn't a couple of days. The nominal president of the church is a man named Heber Jin. She was in there for 7 years.
What is the statement, God helps those who help themselves? Well, in Scientology, we're engaged in helping people help themselves so they can fully comprehend and understand God.
I got pregnant when I was on RPF. So now I'm sanding walls and eating table scraps and pregnant and worrying myself sick about my child.
In Spanky's time, the children of Sea Org members were separated from their parents and raised in the Cadet Org to remove all distractions from their parents' ultimate responsibility, to clear the planet. Sea Org members were often pressured to have abortions because the church viewed getting children as an unpractical burden.
And I went over there to the Cadet Org. There were so many sick children in there, and my daughter was very, very ill, burning up with fever, completely neglected, in a urine-soaked crib. Her eyes were so filled with mucus, they were welded shut. She had fruit flies on her body, and I couldn't bear it. I just went, no, I'm done. I mean, I just knew I could make these choices for me. I could decide to give up my life and do this to help the world, but I couldn't make these choices for my children. I just had to get her out.
The sad fact that Andrew, as of this moment in time, could not see through their candy-coated exterior and chose to dive headfirst into the fiery pits of manipulation and evil forces under the guise of saving the world, is devastating to those who knew and loved him. Andrew will now attempt to climb the bridge of Scientology.
The bridge, it's a metaphor. You start here at the bottom of the bridge and then you go to the top. So where it is, and it's an awareness scale. Your spirituality, your relationship to others. A person is supposed to become more able as they go up the bridge. And then there are the OT levels.
Dedicating all his time, money, and energy into becoming clear and entering the highest level you can achieve as a Scientologist. Becoming an operating thetan.
Operating thetan. And a thetan is a spiritual being. That's the soul of the person.
And when a child is born, a thetan will leap inside the child's body at that very instant, and it becomes like the child's soul. More than one thetan might crowd into the body. Hundreds or thousands might. They're the source of all of our neuroses and fears and anxieties. Then you are on the E-meter by yourself now. You're soloing. You're supposed to scan mentally from your top of your head to your toes to see if you can locate any alien beings. And when you do, you tell them to go away.
With this journey, he will unlock greater knowledge, whether good or bad, and become twined around the poisoned web of Scientology and its leader David Miscavige. A web few ever detach from and crawl away, once entangled within. It is his family and loved ones that should be afraid. If they do at this point still have any shred of a connection with Andrew, then they will be doing everything in their power to please the so-called church, not uttering a single decrepit word against the cult and its leader. Our investigative team posed the question, what if when they called Trick, Erica, and Debbie, Andrew's family, they all had the suspicion that it was Scientology calling to check on them? Making sure that they aren't bad-mouthing Andrew, his decisions to go full throttle as a Scientologist, and the so-called church itself. Perhaps Andrew's family thought these were members of Scientology, just calling under a guise to see how they would speak of Andrew and Scientology. It is something the church has been said to do. And it would make sense after Rick revealed that Andrew was on staff at the Church of Scientology, and our investigative team member replied, "That's fantastic." All Rick could respond was,
Oh, nice.
if Andrew's family were to ever speak out against the cult or question Andrew's choices, they would be fair game.
You know, that he was going to get declared a suppressive person if he didn't disconnect.
From then, Andrew would have to disconnect due to his family being declared as an SP, suppressive persons.
Your Committee of Evidence Findings and Recommendations recommended you be labeled suppressive.
This would mean Rick, Erica, Debbie, Andrew's cousins, and anyone else associated with the Wilson family would never see or hear from Andrew again.
You remember the Church of Scientology, and someone in your family or a friend or your spouse is skeptical or critical of the Church of Scientology, you are supposed to disconnect yourself from that person.
This happened to my wife. You asked her and me to disconnect from her parents because of something trivial they did years ago.
My wife disconnected from me, my daughter, my son, my brother, my sister, my mother, all of my nieces and nephews. And that is the only family that I have.
You know, you label these people suppressive so that, you know, everybody automatically, they're discredited and they must disconnect from them. And that's how you keep people in a bubble.
Only memories and dreams to keep his spirit alive within their hearts and minds. Perhaps they would see him in heaven, in the life after death. But one thing is for sure, any chance of a connection to their beloved Andrew would be crumbled away to smoke and ash, like so many after the concentration camps in Nazi Germany. If Andrew himself ever did come to a realization that the so-called Church of Scientology was nothing more than a manipulative cult created to groom eager and willing younglings like himself to do the bidding of a powerful man, giving away their own time and money, then the existence he will live in might be far more dreadful than what he knows to be life as of now. To live in shame, knowing that you could be so foolish.
Oh my gosh.
To believe what is out as plain as day as blasphemy. A complete and utter lie, Scientology, with all the twisted, poisoned truths anywhere on the internet, or in shared stories from previous members who have lived through and witnessed unspeakable acts.
Engaging in malicious rumor mongering to destroy the authority or repute of higher officers or the leading names of Scientology. My husband was charged with that one because he was telling me what he read on the internet about David Miscavige. They say don't go on the internet.
So if Andrew did ever realize he's not in no wonderland after all, and instead is falling down the abyss of the rabbit hole, he could attempt an escape, which few ever achieve. Or he could be locked up in another much more concrete hole, to be tortured into torture. And if he ever did get out, how would he ever look at his family and those who knew the truth of Andrew's decision to join Scientology, and how naive he had been? Would he be able to live with the shame? Sadly, we might never know how B. Wilson's story ends. If there is light at the end of the tunnel, or if the only thing at the end of the tunnel is a torture chamber where Miscavige waits to devour a shining soul like that of Andrew's.
These years, we face a world alone. To destiny beckoned, we never
People are so indoctrinated and have been in Scientology a really long, long time, or they've grown up in it. They don't know anything else. It's so scary to them to have to start all over. And it takes a really strong person to stand up to them and say no.
It really is the crux of how controlling is any religion over its adherents. And Scientology has perfected a lot of techniques of control. There is no logical explanation as to why other than faith.
Your future, your eternity, all depends on you going up the bridge. It's scary. It's kind of like Christianity with hell. It's like brainwashing, really simple. I mean, that's a scary word, and it took me a long time to come to that conclusion that that's what's occurred.
I just started to think that maybe my entire life has been a lie.
You just don't see it happening to you. You justify so much. Cults, they prey on people, suggesting that, you should be able to think for yourself and then telling you exactly how you have to think or get out. And if you get out, there will be consequences.
Every mood. Am I feeling basketball fun, football tough, or soccer focused? Well, what says today's the start of something new? Again. Soccer. Are you gonna help me get my head in the game?
We willingly put cuffs on.
But now we're wide awake. We've got some plans to make. Let's take some action, baby. So baby, give me your hand. I've got some dreams to make true. I hope that you'll understand. It's time to get serious. Time to get serious with you.
And so I can't damn these people who aren't coming out or who are hiding once they come out because they're ashamed. I feel the same shame.
Well, that just happened. I think I need to rethink this.
We must come back to an indisputable aspect, that of the similarity between Andrew and Dr. Joe Dispenza. Now knowing of Andrew's path in Scientology, perhaps the possibility of Andrew traveling back in time to become the Doctor is now more probable than ever. If Andrew did get in an accident, which is yet to be confirmed, nor denied, while living in Southern California, perhaps that still coincides with the accident that Dr. Joe Dispenza was a brutal victim of. The accident, which at the age of 23, happened in no other but Palm Springs, when the Doctor was ran over by a vehicle. Perhaps we could ask ourselves if this is what happened to Andrew in that missing year when he himself was 23. After the Doctor's accident, Joe Dispenza miraculously healed himself from 6 broken vertebrae. Where might he find such powers and knowledge to do so? Scientology. It is at the basis of every Scientologist that there is the belief that you can heal yourself, become superhuman, and have any power possible.
Well, I was introduced to it by some friends. I don't know if they said it or if it was just talked about by others that they had superpowers. And I was like really young, but I thought I'd like to have superpowers.
To understand Scientology, you have to understand the life and mind of its inventor, L. Ron Hubbard. Hubbard told people that he had been blinded and crippled during the war, and that practices that would form the basis of Scientology had cured him.
So did a young Andrew, just dipping his toes into Scientology, use the gifts the cult have to offer him, leading him to heal himself from an accident, and therefore further his belief in this so-called religion. It is not that the possibilities that Scientologists believe are so far-fetched, only that it might take far too much work for the average human to achieve. But Andrew B. Wilson is no average human. He in many ways is superhuman.
Inside of me.
Led down a path in his childhood, where somewhere along the way this dark preaching began and perked the ear of a young B. Wilson. Will we ever know who was leading this conversion? It seems unlikely his family, due to their love of holidays, family, and community. So who was the snake in this Garden of Eden of Andrew's life? More questions. Always more questions with Andrew's life. What a fate indeed. To be swept away into the grasp of Scientology, which might very well have been his saving grace if he did get into a brutal accident. And from there, he would only throw himself more and more into their doctrine, believing every sacred whisper they breathe into his ears, until the day comes on his path to self-discovery that the most shocking discovery is made in his life thus far, that of time and space travel, giving Andrew the tools and opportunity to go back in time so that he could live his life in a new time, under new circumstances, where he could not only be far from the community and people that had shunned him, but also bring one of the greatest discoveries of humankind with him, that of time travel. Choosing the date of 2004 to re-emerge as Dr. Joe Dispenza, erasing his path where he once took his first steps onto the grand stage under the sparkly spotlights back at his first performance at DMT.
Change your brain just by thinking.
This fixed point in time starts time anew, stepping out older, wiser, out of the grasp of Scientology, but with pearls of knowledge they did bestow upon him. Or perhaps this doctor is just a man, a doppelganger of Andrew, simply lingering out there within the world. It is a tragedy to think of a boy who could suddenly abandon all his lifelong hopes and dreams for something so dark and twisted. A dangerous and slippery slope Andrew Wilson treaded down on his road to the Tonys. It's unfortunate that the Broadway stage will never set its shining spotlight upon this unparalleled face. Will this boy ever be saved from the entrapment he ensnared himself within? Will he wake in the night from terrors, both of sleep and his daily life? Will he attempt an escape, achieving what few rarely do? Will he cut himself off from family and friends forever? Or will his loved ones keep their mouths shut and their opinions to themselves, simply to hold on to the remaining wisps of a connection to this precious man in their life? Sadly, only the boy himself might ever know the possibly vile or just unfortunate string of events that led him to the path he treaded down ever so lightly. Perhaps we shall all light a candle for this once shining boy, and remember the mark he left on all our lives.
I want to go out with her, and I don't even think she notices me. Do you have any ideas? What are you talking about?
The most heartfelt and tragic mark left behind on his father, the man who loved his son above all else, who would have done anything, given up anything, for his most prized possession, a man who now sits alone, waiting for the day he might see his son again, knowing that day might never come.
Well, thank you so much. Have a lovely rest of the evening.
So we remember his name, so that he is not forgotten. So that he still lives on in all our hearts, through laughter and cherished moments, simply looking at his remarkable face.
Hi, my name is Andrew B. Wilson, and I've been performing since I was 7, singing, acting, and dancing. So, well over a decade now, and it's been just a thorough blast. I started with music at the age of 4. And I originally started with the trumpet. And I would sneak the trumpet into my bedroom at night and play under the covers. And my parents would always bust me. And I never knew why. I think I finally figured it out though. And since then I've started playing piano and been playing piano, jazz piano, for over a decade. And a lot of my friends tease me and say, do I ever listen to anybody who's still alive? That always gets a laugh. Well, some of my other interests are flying and aviation, as well as doing falconry. I was able to do that, and something about having a live bird of prey on your fist is just so empowering. And one of my top favorites was getting to snorkel in Bonaire with live sea turtles.
We remember his name, that of the boy, of Andrew B. Wilson.